and welcome to another edition of Marquette in Motion. We're your hosts, Morgan Minster
and Amber Krieg. On today's show, we'll be informing you of some historical events, interviewing our school's LEGO League supervisor, reporting on this past week's annual Veterans Day program, answering your burning questions in You Ask, We Answer.
And as always, we'll be keeping you informed with Marquette Sports and Updates report. But before we get to the rest of our exciting show, Amber and I thought we'd take some time to talk about our high school Quiz Bowl team here at Marquette.
Every year, Marquette High School students have the opportunity to join the Quiz Bowl team. Quiz Bowl is a competition held among schools in the conference and is based solely on questions pertaining to random knowledge. The questions include topics such as history, math, literature, and science.
The format of a Quiz Bowl competition is similar to other trivia competitions. Two competing teams are asked the same question, and the first team to buzz in with the correct answer wins a certain number of points based on the difficulty of the question. When the time for the round is up, the team with the most points wins the round.
Marquette students have had a successful run in the past years, competing in numerous competitions in the area. A new season actually kicks off today as the team will be traveling to Prince of Peace for their first competition. They will have a few more competitions throughout the year, including Marquette's own Quiz Bowl and Knowledge Extravaganza.
This year, Quiz Bowl is headed by two coaches, Mr. Andrew Bishop and Mr. Jim Hollinsby. And as we wish the Quiz Bowl team the best of luck, we thought we'd take a few minutes to give examples of the types of questions that are asked at an average Quiz Bowl competition.
So Morgan, do you know the Latin name for the constellation commonly known as the Twins?
Of course I do. It's actually my star sign. The answer is Gemini. Here's my question for you, Amber. Name the document that this famous quote comes from. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
Well, I can thank our history teacher, Mr. Hollinsby, for this one. The answer is the Declaration of Independence.
Well, this has been fun, Amber. I think it's time for us to turn it over to jam time. What do you have for us today, girls?
Thanks for turning it over to us, Morgan. Though we at Marquette like to stay in motion, we thought today we should stop for a moment and take a look at some historical events that have happened on this day, the 14th day of November.
Talking about history and things in the past, do you all remember what you did when you were 11 or 12?
As much as I want to reminisce about our past, I don't think now is a good time.
Well, apparently 12 years old is a good time to be a ruler of a country, as on this day in 1380, King Charles VI, at the youthful age of 12, was crowned King of France.
Only 12? Think about being William Thompson, who on this day in 1834 entered Glasgow University at the age of 10. That's the age of a fifth grader.
Do fifth graders still read classics like Moby Dick?
I think it depends on the fifth grader. I think the length of it might intimidate some youngsters.
Well, Moby Dick, that story by Herman Melville about the whale, was published on this day in 1851.
Speaking of books, I'm reading the Harry Potter series right now, and the first film of the book, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, the first book of the series, was released on this date in 2001.
I love the Harry Potter series. Dobby is my favorite character.
Speaking of favorite people, one of my favorite people is Albert Einstein, and today, in 1908, he presented his quantum theory of light.
That Albert Einstein sure has a reputation of being one smart guy. Speaking of academia, do you know on this date in 1968, Yale announced it was going co-educational? Move over, guys. Make way for the girls.
Another cool fact, girls, is that on this date in 1997, the Broadway musical The Lion King set a record of $2,700,000 in daily sales.
Wow, wish I had that much money. Maybe then I could buy a painting from the artist Claude Monet, who was born on this date in 1840.
Sadly, on this date in 1935, the Nazis deprived German Jews of their citizenship.
Speaking of Nazis, on this day in 2015,
At 7 p.m. in the Mech,
our very own Marquette Drama Department will present The Diary of Anne Frank, which depicts that time in history.
We hope you can make it to Marquette's play. Before we go, we'd like to share one more important fact about this day in history. On this date, Marquette in Motion is airing the November 14th edition of
Jam Time!
With Justina Denlinger,
Allison Hager,
Megan Litter,
And Mackenzie Kilberg. Market in Motion will be back with segment 2 after these messages. Stay tuned!
We're back with Marquette in Motion. During today's Jam Time segment, the girls shared some interesting facts about this day in history. Next up, Christina is going to tell us about the Veterans Day program, which was held on Wednesday. But before we get to that, Morgan, do you know why Veterans Day is commemorated on November 11th?
As a matter of fact, I do. Veterans Day was chosen to be commemorated on November 11th because the end of World War I happened, interestingly enough, in 1918 in the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month.
Which is why I'm glad you're a member of our Quiz Bowl team. With her report on the Veterans Day program, here's Christina Koos.
To celebrate Veterans Day, Marquette students in grades 6 through 12 traveled out to Bellevue High School on Wednesday morning for the annual Veterans Day program. This program is organized by Bellevue High School Student Council and attracts many veterans and members of our community. This year, after a salute to the veterans from Bellevue's band, Marquette and Bellevue High School choirs joined together to sing a song called Remember. Following this, a select small group from both schools sang a rendition of America the Beautiful. After more music from the band, veterans were presented with quilts of valor, made by a group of community members. After the program, all veterans gathered for a lunch at Horizon Hall. We would like to thank and remember all of our veterans. For Marquette in Motion, this has been Christina Koos.
Thanks for that report, Christina. Now let's get some answers from Lauren in this week's installment of You Ask, We Answer.
Thanks, Morgan. What questions do you have for me this week?
The first question asks about the play. It reads, I know the final performance of the play is Saturday night. What do actors do while they're not on stage during the performance?
Well, that's an interesting question, and as an actor, I think it's something that I can give some honest insight into. Actors or stage crew that are backstage during performances can be found helping fellow actors with costumes or props, catching up on homework, snacking, sometimes sleeping, and also talking with other members backstage. And even watching the show, despite the fact that by the performance time, we can all nearly recite the whole production. Thanks for the question. What's next, Morgan?
Today's second question comes from a parent wondering if and when butter braids will be sold at Marquette.
Butter braids are sold every year at Marquette. K-12 students will receive their order forms right before Thanksgiving so that they can sell over the holidays. The butter braids themselves will be delivered just in time for Christmas. Now, the money raised from this fundraiser in the elementary school will benefit the entire school system. However, in the high school grades, any money raised will be put towards each individual student's payments of their senior trip. So if students begin selling butter braids their freshman year, they could possibly have a large portion of their trip already paid for at the spring of their senior year.
Speaking of the senior trip, Lauren, when will we leave for that senior trip?
Well, Morgan, a meeting was held Thursday night with a group of senior students and parents attending. It was decided that our senior group will leave Bellevue for their senior trip on Saturday, May 21st, and will return Saturday, May 28th, just in time for graduation the next day, Sunday, May 29th. I know we're all looking forward to this trip and the remainder of our senior year. But there is something a little sooner for me to look forward to, hearing from all of you at Marquette in Motion at marquettecatholic.com. Until then, for Marquette in Motion, this has been Lauren Kilberg. We'll be right back after this break.
Welcome back to Marquette in Motion. Sam Peters and Jonathan Herrig are here with your Marquette Sports and Updates report.
Thanks, Amber. Tonight marks the last performance of the Dyer of Anne Frank, Marquette's fall play this year. Tickets are $4 for general admission and $3 for students. Please come to the MEC at 7 o'clock tonight to support Marquette's fall play. Also, tomorrow, November 15th, is Marquette's annual chicken dinner, held at Horizon Hall in Bellevue from 11 to 1:30 p.m. They will be serving Calms' famous roasted chicken, mashed potatoes and gravy, applesauce, corn, green beans, rolls, desserts, and refreshments. Tickets are $10 for a half chicken and $8 for a fourth chicken, with the cost being $4 for children 10 and under.
Thanks, Sam. On Monday, Marquette is hosting a vocal festival involving all the schools in both the East and West divisions of the Tri-Rivers Conference. The participating singers will practice all afternoon, and the concert will begin at 7 o'clock that night in the MEC. Also, Marquette's annual Christmas concert is approaching. The preschool to 5th grade concert will take place on December 6th. On the following week, grades 6 through 12 will have their concert on December 13th, and both of the concerts will start at 6:30 and will be held in the MEC.
From Marquette in Motion, this has been Sam Peters.
And Jonathan Herrig with your Marquette Sports and Updates report.
Thanks, boys. Now let's send it over to Brooklyn Moore with her segment, No More.
Hello, everyone. I'm Brooklyn Moore, and I'll be interviewing Mrs. Moore. Along with being a mother, you're also a high school teacher and Lego League coach, correct?
Yes.
The second quarter has already begun, and your financial math students are really starting to get into their lessons. What have you taught them so far, and what do you plan on teaching them?
We have looked at gross income and the deductions that come off of that to arrive at net income. We've looked at checking accounts and savings accounts, and we are now starting credit cards.
Sounds like fun. I know I just love math myself. So along with teaching high school math, you have the opportunity to work with grades 4th through 6th for LEGO League. Can you tell our audience what LEGO League is?
Well, with LEGO League, our students and the team, they build with Legos to create a robot that will accomplish certain missions or tasks.
Does the LEGO League crew compete in any competitions?
Last year we did compete in a regional competition. However, this year when I signed up our group, the competition was already full. So instead we are going to have a local competition. We ended up with 20 students wanting to be part of the LEGO League team. So I split us up, and we're going to have 2 groups of 5 compete here before Christmas, seeing which teams can earn the most points by completing the most missions with their LEGO robots. And then we'll sort of have a little party afterwards to celebrate.
I'm sure they'll enjoy that. What do you do in order to prepare for the competitions? Do you practice, or how does that exactly work?
Well, I have one of my teams gets together on Monday nights, and they build with their Legos trying to perfect their robot. And then the other team gets together on Tuesday nights doing the same thing. And Wednesday nights we all get together. Wednesday nights are usually the nights where we're building up our field set. So there are many different Lego pieces that have to be built in addition to putting together our Lego robot. These Lego pieces are part of the missions or the tasks that the robot has to perform.
Final question before we go. Who's your favorite child?
Brooklyn, you are one of my 8 favorite children.
Oh, I heard Brooklyn. Oh, okay. That's so sweet. Don't worry, I won't tell the others or Brittany. Speaking of which, starting after Thanksgiving break, I will be interviewing Marquette seniors. I'll be sure to have some very interesting interviews, so make sure to keep tuning in. For Marquette in Motion, this has been Brooklyn Moore.
Thanks for reporting, everyone.
And thanks for tuning in. For Market in Motion, this has been Morgan Minster
and Amber Krieg.
And remember, stay informed, stay involved, stay
in motion.